Hey guys, it's Danny. Today I need to take care of this orchid which is mounted on the drain style mount that I really dislike. So I thought, let's record the whole process just so you see how difficult and inconvenient it is. And I hope you can get some tips out of it as well, because I fear this type of mount will become more and more popular, sadly. So yeah, I'll just show you how I go about it. Obviously, we are going to look at the drain quite a lot. I know some of you find it quite disturbing. I don't like it either, trust me, I really don't. So there we go. I'm gonna put a timestamp somewhere on the screen where you can skip to see the orchid like being potted in a normal pot if you want. The drain will be out of the picture. But yeah, with that said, let's just get to work. Let's not delay it further. But before we do, don't forget to give this video a like if you end up enjoying it. Why not subscribe? It's free and I post 3 times a week on this channel. But hey, if you're feeling a little extra, you can also support everything that I do by either becoming a member, getting merch, using the affiliate links that I have in the description, or using the super thanks feature under the videos. Right, let's get to work. First things first, I need to soak the roots of this orchid, make them a little bit more flexible, a little bit easier to detach. Although I will warn you, I already know because I've done this before, from this type of drain, I'm not even gonna call it a mount, it's a drain. So from the drain, there aren't many roots being salvaged. Can you imagine? There are a million holes, well not a million, but you know what I mean, through which roots can go in and out and get all tangled and intricate. As you can imagine, we cannot save much of them. We're gonna try nonetheless. So first things first, soaking the orchid. Now, I didn't tell you what orchid this is. It's one from the mega haul that I did this week. It's the Gyra Contour. And oh boy, she's really pretty. I'm hoping she's also very resilient. These hybrids tend to be, I noticed, everything that has like the star-shaped, which many of the times comes from the Brassavola hybrids. They are very resilient and very floriferous. Hopefully, this one is too young to have bloomed. I don't really see flower spikes. I see a little sheath, but it's empty. It does look a little young, and the problem is we are probably going to set it back a little bit. But if she's a fast grower, then we're good. If this would have been one of those big flowered floofy cattleyas, oh boy, those ones typically grow 1 pseudobulb per year. Can you imagine just going back? So I'm gonna leave it like this for like 5 minutes or so. I'm gonna take more sips of coffee, and we're gonna be right back. Alrighty, so I think it's been about enough. You can see I already have some tools next to me, and this is because we're gonna start cutting some stuff. So I got my protective goggles here. We're gonna need them, and also the oldest pruners that I have that do the dirty job. They are still working good. Right, look at that, in its element, the drain in its element. Right, so first and foremost, we need to get rid of the little wire that keeps the orchid tied to the basket. So it's not only the drain, it's also the basket to make it even more difficult for us. Why not? Something's happening in the neighborhood. Should I pause filming? Nah. Sadly, I live in a society with neighbors. My dream is to not have neighbors, but that is impossible unless I move in the middle of the forest, which is pretty unlikely. Right, so now that we removed that little piece of wire, let's see if we can push the drain out. No, because the roots not only go through the drain, but also through the basket. If you're not into seeing roots being ripped, again, this is not the video for you. But sometimes things are not pretty when we take care of orchids. We gotta do some dirty work as well. Right, so what I wanna do next is try to detach these roots. Some of them are not alive anymore, so I don't care if I destroy them, but some are. So I'm going to try to detach gently as much as possible the roots from the basket so that when I pull up, they don't just rip. They might. I mean, look at this. But I'm trying to save as many as I can. It's impossible. Who invented this? Who had this bright idea to use a drain as a mount? Who? I want to know who. Leave a comment. I want to have a word with you. I'll make some cookies, get some coffee, we're gonna have a chat. So some of the roots come out from one side, go back through the other, making a loop. It is impossible to save these roots. And furthermore, they will just prevent the orchid coming out of the basket. So the only solution that I have for them is to cut them. The good thing is they're old and not in good shape either, kind of thick as well, so I will prioritize the healthy roots. Okay, let's see how we are now. Nope, not budging at all. So I'm gonna try to push the drain. Okay, something's happening. On this side, it's definitely moving. Maybe we can grab it from this side. Oh yeah, there we go. Interesting. Did I tell you I hate the... Oh, I want to see the stuff of nightmares? How am I supposed to save any root from here? I can't. All right, so let's demonstrate something. I'm going to put on the goggles. Actually, I thought we were going to have to cut this basket, which is doable. I did it before. I always cut Vanda baskets because they're uncomfortable. They just take up a lot of space in the pot, right? But when it comes to this drain, let me show you. It did cut, but my tool wobbled. But I'm gonna give it a go. Oh boy. I'm gonna try to cut around the roots and save. Let me just think about this. Most of the roots will not make it anyway, but still, am I going to leave the orchid rootless? No, I'm gonna try to save a few of them. And if they start to die back in the pot, I'm just gonna repot. I can't rip all of them. I might have to. It's not going. Oh no. No. Okay. Plan B. I had it. Where is it? Okay. Let's see if we can pry the orchid kinda. So I'm gonna go with the knife beneath the roots and just use it as a wedge. It's kind of working. I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna cut away everything that is not alive anymore, just to create more space through the drain for the good roots. It's not the tool to do this operation with because it doesn't actually cut roots. It's pretty blunt at this point. It kind of just cuts plastic at this point. Okay, so I cut more roots. Let's see if it makes this easier. See, I have traces of cocoa husk. Why couldn't this orchid have been left in the cocoa husk? Why do we have to put it on this awful drain? Okay, so that was the root that was holding everything back. So yeah, there we go. There are some roots here, but they are damaged. And as we know, cattleyas, they don't really hang on to their roots, especially if they're damaged. So I'm gonna do the best that I can. This will be a repot type of a situation. I'm going to pot the orchid, temporary kinda, and then after a month or so, I'm gonna unpot it and see what what root I lost. Cause, okay, I don't need my goggles anymore. But yeah, I'm gonna cut away everything that is clearly not alive anymore, and everything that could possibly remain alive I'm gonna leave on. But yeah, 90% of this will not make it, I'm pretty sure. But the orchid is producing new roots, which is good. We also have a new growth, which is good. So yeah, I'm hoping the setback will not be major. I'm also hoping this is a fast growing orchid. That's the best that we can do. So that's how it goes on mounting these orchids from the drain. Now I know there will always be comments asking, can we leave the orchid in the drain? Can we just pot the drain? Absolutely you can if you want to. I don't want to. It takes up unnecessary space, and leaving that drain there will mean that even the new roots might get clogged in it. I'm really pushing the drain meme. It is a drain. So, or actually the drain cover, you know, the thing that you put so that like bits of food don't go down. If I leave it in the pot, I run the risk of the new roots just going and swirling and tangling themselves in the drain. So pretty much I will be stuck with the drain forever, which is not ideal because for this orchid, a pot, let's say this size, would be appropriate. The drain is bigger than the pot. I would have to go for a very, very big pot, which takes up a lot of space, and I don't want to. And also in the future, I will always be connected and tied to the drain that I don't like to look at. So no, I personally don't want to leave the drain on. You can if you really wanted to, but I do believe sooner or later, I'm just trying to remove the pieces of cocoa husk because they're old. I do believe that sooner or later we have to do the dirty work. in order for the orchids to be healthier and in order for us to have an easier life with them. Think about it as a doctor doing surgery. In a way, I'm not comparing myself to a surgeon, but like I'm trying to boost my confidence that way. We gotta do some cutting in order to save a life, right? Okay, this is getting darker and darker. Let's remove some of these old sheaths as well. This is what happens to the sheaths on the pseudobulbs. If you don't remove them when they're like in one piece, in time, they kind of crumble away, and actually it's easier to remove them if you put them under water. But they become a little harder to remove because they're very crumbly. But that's how the orchid gets rid of them, naturally. Right, so gonna get rid of all of this mess and come back with some prettier things to look at. All right, so let's see if this pot can hold the root system. It can. Now, when I'm going to come back and repot this orchid, I will cut away some of the older growth. There is no need for it to be there. Right now though, I will leave it because I just pretty much butchered the root system. So the orchid needs as much energy as possible. The older pseudobulbs and leaves, they will offer as much as they can. And hopefully we're not gonna have a severely set back orchid. I want this new growth to grow fast, produce roots fast. Hopefully within a month, I will have more roots from this growth, which did not actually create too many roots, which is good. It's about to happen. So I'm hopeful that within a month, we're gonna have more roots with this growth, and I will be more confident to remove the older part of the orchid, which doesn't really serve much if the orchid is healthy. It's not going to bloom, it's not even going to branch. It's very, very old growth. It's just taking up space in the pot, and it's making me use bigger pots than I have to, taking up more space. So I want to get rid of like this section of the orchid. Now it's not the time though. It is still useful now. In the future, when the orchid will be healthy, it won't be so useful. Also, I'm going to be using a full sphagnum moss setup. The benefit, amongst other maintenance things, is that when we're going to repot this orchid, the roots will not even feel the disturbance because moss is really, really fluffy and light on the roots. So from the pot, easy to remove the roots. If they start to swirl, we just squeeze on the pot and they snap right off. No drama there. And also, we are going to have to remove a little bit that moss to see which roots didn't make it, right? Well, we're not gonna traumatize the roots when we're gonna do that with moss. So everything will be okay in the end. But yeah, definitely this is a setup that needs a re-evaluation in a month. Maybe we can do a video then. A month, month and a half, we'll see. Should I film? Let me know. Now, this technique can be used with any orchid. You don't necessarily have to go through a very traumatic drain removal. I'm having fun calling that thing a drain while having some sort of revenge. Yeah, so this tactic of going back and unpotting the orchid and removing the dead roots can go very well with orchids that need to be acclimated to a different type of environment, root-wise, such as vandas. When I convert the vandas from a bare root type of a culture to a potted culture, I typically go back after a month or a month and a half and cut away the roots that did not make the transition because they are very, very common. And with vandas, it is very common to have roots not making it because all of their roots are bare root grown, so they have never experienced high levels of moisture. So it's absolutely fine in the first month or month and a half, maybe even more with some orchids, to go back and cut away everything that died. You can absolutely reuse the medium you used. In 1 month, it's not going to degrade way too much. No need to throw it away and waste it. You can reuse it. I will reuse the sphagnum moss as well. Just make sure to remove all of the bits of dead roots. You don't want those in the potting mix, spoiling it faster, reducing its usage, wasting it faster, pretty much. Right. I made a fluffy sphagnum moss bed here. That's all I want. This is the type of setup that retains more water. If I would compress the moss a little more, I would retain less water and suffocate the roots more. Not what we want. Fluffy sphagnum moss goodness is what we want. No, I'm not gonna use this because we're gonna come back to it anyway. I got so used to it. Remember when I used to forget to add the slow release fertilizer? So we're not gonna add it now since we're gonna unpot it anyway. We're just gonna leave it as that. I am going to add a layer of bark on top. It's really easy to separate the moss from the bark when I'm gonna repot, and I will reuse the bark as well. No worries. The problem is if I don't add the layer of bark, I'm gonna have algae on top of the moss in no time, and I won't be able to reuse the moss. So it's needed. Now, some of you asked me how I keep my aquarium from algae. Wow. If you're new to aquariums, if you've never had a planted tank actually, everything we do revolves around preventing algae. Everything from the duration of the light period to the position in the home to the type of fish we're gonna use, and not only invertebrates as well, to fertilizing, of course, to the substrate we're gonna use, to the plants we're gonna use, to filtration and water movement, and everything revolves around preventing algae. So getting that balance is a learning curve. And still, no aquarium is completely algae free. There will always be some algae because they're a natural part of the ecosystem, just like with orchids actually. But the problem is, if they take over, the plants will suffer. So it's always about keeping the balance between very, very little algae and lush plant growth. And the way to suppress algae is by promoting plant growth. Now with orchids, I can't do that because orchids are slow. I can't promote the plant growth more than I already do because they have a very slow growth. In the aquarium, things grow very fast. Some plants grow extremely fast to the point that I need to prune them every week, and I'm not up for that right now. I didn't use many in my tank, but there are some that grow so fast that they need pruning every 2 weeks, maybe not every week, but every 2 weeks definitely. So imagine how fast they grow. And I think we are about done. I'm going to water my orchid. Where's the tag? Let's write the date. Or actually, no, I'm not gonna write the date because I did not put any slow release fertilizer, and I will remember when I repotted it. Just wanna wash it. So I'm gonna add some water here and just treat this orchid normally, put it under my grow lights, and in 1 month we're gonna come back and see what's in here. 1.5 months, it depends how I feel about things, right? Right, let's clean up my table and come back with the outro. All right, here she is. She's going to be sitting next to my other ladies, and hopefully she's gonna be happy. Now, one of you guys asked me what I do with new orchids. Do I keep them like quarantined, separated? What if they have pests? Actually, don't do that, and I'll tell you why. My orchids have nothing to fear when it comes to new orchids. New orchids have something to fear while coming into this room because I already have pests. So the struggle is for me to protect new orchids, not quarantine them. What I actually do, I'm not gonna do on camera because I usually do this outside for the birds, but I do give them a light oil coat with my leaf shine, and that keeps them a little bit protected. And I haven't really had much issues so far. I did actually have issues with one orchid, which I'm gonna post about on the second channel, which I'm not gonna name it shorts anymore. I think I'm gonna find a different, cuter name for it. It's still gonna be shorter form content and stuff, but it's gonna be a diversity. So I'm gonna post a video on my Cymbidiella. I put it there, like in the same room with me, and next day she had pests, and she had such a bad infestation in the end that the leaves were grazed. So now she is locked in a cabinet. No, my old orchids have nothing to fear when it comes to new orchids. The new orchids have something to fear coming here, but I'm doing my best. Righty, so that is about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed today's struggle. I mean, what is there to enjoy? I hope you learned something new, I guess. And yeah, I hope I don't get to see that drain very often, but I think I will. I think it's a thing that's happening now with some nurseries. There's a lot of noise going on. It's 7. People are starting to go to work. So let's end it here. Let's wrap it up. If you want to keep in touch with me on social media, search for me. I'm at MissOrchidGirl pretty much everywhere. Check out my second channel for shorter form content, updates, spotlights, behind the scenes, all sorts of cool stuff. But most importantly, subscribe to this channel because this is where I post the good stuff, the tutorials. So that's it. I'll see you all next time. Bye.